Well, good morning. Happy Thursday. It is May Day. Isn't today May isn't the May 1st May Day? Let me look this up. I'm pretty sure it is, but is May 1st May Day? Yes, May 1st is May Day, a day of remembrance, celebration, and protest, and with a rich history rooted in both labor movements and pagan traditions. May Day is observed internationally, although the specific ways it's celebrated vary by region. So who knew? But apparently today is May Day. So happy May Day to you. And may God richly bless you on this beautiful May Day. And it is 61 degrees outside. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful sunny skies. As I sit here looking out my window, there's a house next door to me, and then popping up over the house is a antenna for communications, for cell phone communications. And then below that, below the house is a microwave, huge microwave antenna. And every once in a while, the microwave antenna or somebody has to crawl up that thing. And yesterday, and you can always tell because they're always talking to each other, and you can hear them loud as day. You can't understand what they're saying, but you can hear that they're talking to each other. And yesterday, I happened to be standing outside, and I saw these guys going up and down that antenna. And I think because it's about 300 feet high. I mean, it really is up there. and I think to myself, oh wow, what? That's a pretty tall antenna. I don't know if I want that job. I'm sure that they're very safe about it. Let's see. We do have birthdays today, and oh no, what did I do with my birthdays? Oh, they're right here. Okay. Today is May 1st. That's Charlotte Cox. Happy birthday, Charlotte. Friday is Kat Sutherland. Saturday is Chris Benner and Kathleen Rogers. And Sunday is Preston Wilson. So those are the birthdays that we have between now and Monday. And may you all have a blessed birthday. And if you know those people, wish them happy birthday. Say hi to them. Let's see. And just as far as logistics go, we'll meet today and then we're off over the weekend. The weekend does have some exciting stuff in it. Confirmation is on Sunday. And there are 5 young adults that are being confirmed on Sunday. And they will be very, very blessed. And it will be exciting for them. And we pray that God gives them the strength to get through confirmation. It's kind of scary a little bit. They prepare a faith statement and they get up to share their faith statement. And it's just, it's scary for people. All right. Let's get into our Bible study. We are in Mark chapter 12. Jesus is still teaching in Jerusalem. In Mark, Jesus enters Jerusalem and does a lot of teaching. In other Gospels, Jesus does a lot of teaching before he enters into Jerusalem. But Mark has him in Jerusalem with all these teachings. And so we'll begin our episode today in Mark chapter 12, beginning at verse 38. As he taught, Jesus said, "Watch out for the teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and be greeted with respect in the marketplaces, and have the most powerful and important seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. These men will be punished most severely." And this is a pretty, for a pastor, this seems rather harsh, but it's probably very true. And obviously, there are people in the community that have a high level of respect, and particularly the teachers of the law, who wear flowing robes. And in the Greek world, the most prized person in the community was the teacher, like Aristotle or Socrates. They were the gem of their community because they sat around and thought big thoughts, okay? And And of course, people still remember a lot of the things that they said. They were written down. We still have a lot of their writings. But in the Greek world, that was, I mean, they were the pinnacle of society. And everybody wants somebody in their society that, that they can look up to and respect. And so in the Greek world, it was the teachers. In this world, it was their teachers of the law. They were given a very, very, very high position in society. And because they were given a high position in society, they were often invited to the banquets. They were invited over to people's homes. And I don't think any of that was wrong. But Jesus says that they devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. And I think this just goes against what Jesus is always teaching, which is the first shall be last and the last shall be first. If these teachers of the law are there to serve the community, then and not make it about their own personal gain, I don't think Jesus would be so upset about it. But at some point, they turned it about serving the community into their personal gain, and that's so. It's such a fine line. It's a matter of the heart. Like, why are you doing this? Are you teaching? The reason why you would teach the law is to help. God's law is not a burden. God's law is a way to live your life so that you are protected against some of the dangers of the world, I guess you could say. God's law should be learned, inwardly digested, so that you can live that way. And when the teachers of the law do that, when they teach and people's lives are improved and they do it with humility, with an attitude of service to others, I'm pretty sure Jesus will be very happy with that. What happens is that that power begins to corrupt. And because they have that power, they get the finest places in the banquets. Instead of sitting at the end of the table, or at the back of the table, they sit at the front of the table. Instead of sitting, in the midst of the crowd, they sit at the right hand in positions of authority. All these different things. You almost could say that the heart could be that their heart is one of, I deserve this, and I'm going to leech off of society. And politicians can be the same way. I mean, anybody. Hollywood could be the same way. Pastors like me could be the same way. And I think it's a question of the heart. Is the heart trying to serve God and use their position of authority to, serve God, or is it's all about me and serving myself? I mean, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And I think God knows the heart, so he knows when people do this. And it's a fine line. It truly is a fine line. I wish that there was something you could say that proves that person's just self-serving, or that person proves that they aren't self-serving, but there just isn't. Whenever you're in a position of leadership, there's always the danger that it becomes more about you than the organization you lead. And people see right through that. I do believe that people see through that. You watch some of the leaders of companies, and you can tell that they're more interested in the success and the health of the company than they are about their own personal gain. Now, they devour the widow's houses and for show make lengthy prayers. I'm reminded of my great-grandmother. And she was a widow. She was retired. And because she had 3 husbands, I'm assuming, although I don't know, because I never got into her financial situation, but I'm assuming that she had some level of wealth, because she did support a lot of televangelists. And one of the ones that she supported was Oral Roberts. And she would watch Oral Roberts, and she donated a considerable amount of money. According to my grandmother and my father, she donated a considerable amount of money to Oral Roberts. And Oral Roberts was one of the first televangelists, and he wanted to build his Oral Roberts Hospital Medical Center. God told us, 75-foot Jesus told him to do that. And so she gave a lot of money to him. Now, is that wrong? Is he the one that is devouring widows' houses? And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, if he's trying to collect all this money so that he can make the world a better place, then Is that necessarily wrong? I don't know. God knows his heart, and only God knows his heart. I do know that she gave some money to him, and if you gave money to Oral Roberts, you get the Oral Roberts Bible. And she was so excited to get the Oral Roberts Bible. I have no idea what it was, right? So it arrives in the world on the mail, and on the front of it, it says Oral Roberts Holy Bible. And she got upset because it wasn't Oral Roberts' Holy Bible. It was the Holy Bible. He just happened to be holding it in his hands because he was, he was a steward of that Bible. So she stopped giving to him and she kind of washed her hands. It only takes one event for a person to get really, kind of to be disillusioned about the people that they follow. And that happened with my great grandmother. So when you are in charge of a church, particularly, you have to be very, very careful about what you say, what you do, and you can't make it about yourself. I try, but I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that I'm serving God well, but probably he looks into my heart and says, "Are you sure, David? Is it really about you, or is it about my church, or is it about you?" Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I would like to believe that I'm here to serve, but we're all human. We all have human things in our life. So, I think what is probably the most healthy way to lead any organization is to have an attitude of humility and be willing to do the hard things that the organization is doing. And yeah, that's probably the best way. Just be humble. serve with humility and joy, and let God sort it out. All right, that's enough of that. Verse 41. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all of the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." And how is it? First of all, he was impressed by the amount of it as a proportion of her wealth. And I think that God doesn't care about wealth, but he does care about the heart and how much your heart is attached to God. And when this widow came in and gave everything that she had to live on, you could tell that she was 100% all in on God. And it almost seems like it's violating the above paragraph where they're trying to, take advantage, where the teachers of the law are trying to take advantage of the widows. It appears here that she is doing this out of her heart, out of her love, and she wants to sacrifice all for God, even though it's not a large amount. The thing is that most people would never, you have a very, very wealthy person who gives, 1/10 of 1% of their wealth, and everybody just fawns all over that person. And you have another person that gives 100% of their wealth, and nobody cares less because they have no money. They're not important to the organization, but they're important to God. They're extremely important to God, and God wants the heart. He doesn't want the money. God's got all the money in the world. What he wants is the heart of his people, and teaching that is very, very challenging because it almost sounds like whenever you teach on money, people get upset. The claim is all the church cares about is money. And we try to be so intentional in saying it's not about the amount of the money. It's about the heart that gives the money, period. That's it. And it's your heart. You get to decide. What does God want you to do? I think everybody should pause and ask that question. And I believe that when you ask that question, it's good to stretch yourself when you ask that question. But ultimately, it's a question that you have to ask in your reaction to in your relationship to God. I can't answer that question for you. There are denominations out there that demand a certain percentage, and they actually look at your tax return or whatever, and they say you're not giving enough. I find that in one hand, it certainly does, because I do believe that that when you voluntarily give a high percentage of your income to God, it changes your heart. I do believe that. So in one respect, I think that is, a great teaching tool. But on the other hand, it just does seem to be more self-serving than the heart change. And that's where I struggle. We have never taught that you have to give 10% or you're not going to go to heaven, period. I mean, this is not what God says. But what God does says is that he wants to stretch your imagination about what you're doing with the resources that you've been given and the blessings you've been given, and what are you doing with them. And I remember once there was a teacher who said that he and his wife gave 22% of their income, and they just absolutely had joy about it. And I'd never heard that before. And so I said to myself, I wonder if I could get to the point where I give 22% or more. And that is a goal of mine. God knows my heart. He knows where I am on it. But anyway, so it's not about God does have, so many times people evaluate and judge people based upon their net wealth, and God judges upon the heart and where your heart lies. And he doesn't care about how much money. If you're super wealthy or super poor, all he cares about is your heart. And that's all that we should honor and respect, is the heart. But it's hard because we're human, and the world judges based upon how much money you make or don't make. And the people who make a lot of money get invited to all the parties. They have the best seats. They're fawned over, and that's human nature. But that's not God's nature. God's nature is totally different. All right, we'll leave that there, and see if we can get to Mark 13. We're getting close. All right. This is good. As Jesus was leaving the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what massive stones, what magnificent buildings. Do you see all these great buildings?" replied Jesus. "Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one of them will be thrown down." So Jesus is talking in this little section. Jesus is kind of comparing how the world sees itself and how God sees the world. And the disciples were impressed by a large, impressive building, as anybody would be. You go to the Taj Mahal. I think, was it our vice president just went to the Taj Mahal recently and met with the Prime Minister of India. I think that was last week or the week before. I can't remember. And of course, everybody wants to see the Taj Mahal, a building built by a guy for his wife, as a monument to his wife. And it's one of the most beautiful buildings on the earth. And everybody goes and looks at it, and they're just so impressed, at mankind's ability to build things. And I'm sure that if I went to see the Taj Mahal, it would be beautiful. But I have been to the Taj Mahal. I've been to God's Taj Mahal. I've been to the Grand Canyon. I've been to Havasupai. I've been to Cienega Creek. I've been to all these different places that God's created that have more beauty than any man could ever create. In the Roman world, if you look at Roman architecture, some of it is absolutely beautiful. Their aqueducts, just to carry water, have more beauty in it than 99% of the stuff we build here in the United States today. And you think to yourself, why would they do that? And the answer is really quite interesting. They didn't have to. If you look at the aqueducts. They simply didn't have to be so elaborate. They could have easily conveyed the water differently and without such elaboration. But the thing is that the Roman culture had this philosophy that if you were going to take away from God's creation, you had to build something as or more beautiful than the stuff that you were taking away from. And so they were very, very intentional that whatever they built had a huge architectural flair to it and created more beauty than what they were destroying. And they worked very, very, very hard. If you look at all their structures, the Colosseum, the aqueducts, or whatever, they worked very, 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 very hard to try to create as much beauty as possible. Because there is beauty just in the natural order of things. I was, what was it? I think I may still have it on my web browser. Yeah, there's a place called Ramsey Canyon somewhere in southern Arizona. And it's called Ramsey Canyon Preserve. And I watched this video of someone hiking through it. And it is stunningly beautiful, like stunningly beautiful. And apparently it's somewhere near the Dragoons or Sierra Vista. And you think to yourself, how, like, what could possibly be more beautiful than that? Of course, I find huge beauty in some of the places that you can hike in the world. And I'm whenever I am hiking in, and I don't hike a lot. I'd like to hike more, but it's not like I spend my whole life hiking. I've only been to a few places, but some of the places I've been to, I just think to myself, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You go to Seven Springs here north of Tucson. It's like, this is absolutely beautiful. Go to the Grand Canyon. This is absolutely beautiful. Go to Lake, Havasupai, which is an Indian village at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And it's got these three huge waterfalls. Havasu Falls, Mooney Falls, and what's the other falls? Beaver Falls. All these three, and you just look at these 300-foot falls. And Jennifer and I once had the opportunity to go to Oregon and see some falls there. I don't think they were Beaver Falls too, but maybe not. And just looking at this incredible grandeur, and it's just so beautiful. There's something about the natural beauty of creation. And mankind is always trying to create something that beautiful. So they create these big buildings. Now, are they doing it because the Romans, that they want to create beauty, or are they doing it because they want to show the world how important and powerful they are? Who knows? But God says, Jesus said, don't get attached to these buildings. They're not going to stay forever. They're going to last forever. The beauty of God will last forever. The things of God will last forever. But the things that mankind makes will not last forever. And that's probably true. Yeah, so I think we'll end it there, man, because now the disciples are going to ask him about that, and they should. So we ended up at 13:3. All right, so that's where we'll start. When we get together, let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thanks for this beautiful day, and until we meet again, keep us in your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so thank you for joining me. Let's see. Yeah. I pray you all have a awesome day. And we'll see you on Monday. Take care. Bye.